Travelling around Australia in a brand new Tesla Model Y is one of the most incredible ways to experience our huge country. But would you do this massive 15,000 kilometre journey in as few days as possible? Find out why independent energy consultant Pete Petrovsky and Harald Murphy are doing this right now. And more importantly, what is motivating you to do this? And yeah, give me some more details.
So, look, there's numerous motivations, but the top three would probably be trying to address the last three stumbling blocks, I would call them, when it comes to the adoption of EVs in Australia. And that being, number one, EV chargers. That's by far the one thing that really prevents widespread adoption. I mean, we're at 2.5% penetration rate versus globally at closer to 12%. Number two being education, number three being government policy, and we believe our trip, so I'm doing this in conjunction with Harald Murphy. He's the secretary of the Tesla Owners Club WA. Yeah, we believe that our trip is addressing all three.
All right, perfect. So look, for those who do not know, especially for people overseas, circumnavigating Australia in a car is at least almost a 15,000 kilometre journey. How far are you along now?
So just clicked over 10,000, so about 2/3 of the way home.
Fantastic. And do you know where Harold is in relation to you?
Yes, so he's on his way. He's doing a massive 6-hour drive at the moment. And so, yeah, he's hoping to get to Carnarvon.
Now, I looked into this, and there's obviously some significant barriers, and like you say, you're trying to increase awareness around electric vehicle charging and electric vehicles in general. What was the biggest, hardest part of your journey so far?
Look, the hardest part was fairly early in the beginning. So when we left Perth, north of Perth, there's only 2 DC chargers. There's one in Jurien Bay, which was crowdfunded by the WA EV community and put in by John Edwards. And then there's the DC charger in Geraldton, which has been funded by the TOCWA, the Tesla Owners Club WA committee. But once you go past those 2 DC chargers, it's all AC level or AC speed charging for 6,500 kilometres.
Oh my gosh.
And some of those roadhouses, you've got 400 kilometre distances between those roadhouses.
That's getting tight.
This is the shortest range car that Tesla makes. And really the real world range on a chip sealed road is really around 300 kilometres at the speed limit. So, you've got a 400 kilometre stretch, you've just got to slow down and manage your consumption.
Yeah, understood. So we'll talk about the car in a moment. So that 6,500 kilometres just on like AC charging, and if you don't know what that means, it's basically like, think of your PowerPoint at home, okay? So you can do 10 amp, 15 amp, 10, 15 k's per hour. What's the best sort of speed you got on the AC charging?
A lot of the homesteads and a lot of the roadhouses have got 32 amp or 20 amp 3-phase points. And we're actually very fortunate. So Harold's donated 2 30 kilowatt DC chargers, semi-portable DC chargers that we actually carry behind the seat. And we're able to actually draw 20 kilowatts out of a 32 amp power point. In this trip, we've experienced both extremes. So at one end, you've got the most ideal supercharging experience or charging experience that you can have. And that's a Tesla supercharger. There's always a minimum of 3 stalls. So you know that even if 1 or 2 are occupied or are down, which is very rare, you'll be able to charge. They're dependable, they're fast, there's no cables, there's no apps. You just come in, plug in and walk off. And then on the other end of the extreme, you're talking about ringing roadhouses. You never know who's going to pick up the phone. 9 times out of 10, the person that picks up the phone, the first response is, sorry, we can't charge electric vehicles here. And then you've got to try and negotiate.
And because they don't understand it?
And they wouldn't know because so if we successfully complete this, Harold will be the 21st to go around Australia. He was actually the 6th. And I will hopefully be the 22nd. So, and this is over, a number of years. So when Harold was the 6th, that was back in 2018. So they don't get that many vehicles come through. And, a lot of these roadhouses are manned by casual staff or backpackers, and so they wouldn't have come across an EV in those parts. So even when you speak to the owners, even some of the owners don't know what they have, what they don't have. But this is where PlugShare comes in very handy.
Gotcha. Well, I guess, that's one of the benefits of what you're doing here, and that's actually raising awareness with this campaign. And that mission is like, as you go, it's like, oh, you know what? You've actually got a 15 amp socket there, and even any wall socket will do, right?
Absolutely. It just comes down to how patient you can be. So yeah, look, 15 amp, you're charging at 16, 18 kilometres an hour. Sure. So you can actually get into a situation, if you're charging that slowly, if you're driving anything faster than that 16 or 18 kilometres an hour, your overall trip is going to be slower. So, whereas a supercharger where you're charging at 1,000 kilometres an hour, obviously you can go as fast as the speed limiter will let you. And and you're not slowing yourself down.
Sure. So I'll put on screen now a map of Australia and charging infrastructure, and you can see there's lots of chargers potentially, but what's missing here is like those faster chargers, the DC versions. And so, as you say, it's 6,500 kilometres across the north there. That's a massive distance, and how do you keep yourself occupied when you're doing such a massive drive?
It's actually really interesting. I thought, I preloaded all these podcasts and audio books, and I thought I'd be listening to those, music. But yeah, the first 4 or 5 days was actually quite intense. So after the first day, I was thrown right into it. So just so you know, a bit of background, I've never been anywhere north of Broome in Western Australia, and in a car or in any other form of transport, let alone an EV.
Right.
So, so it was, it was a very steep learning curve, but I've been very lucky. So I've probably got the 2 best phone of friends one could ask for. So I've got Harold. He's a practicing electronics engineer, plus he was the 6th one to do it. And then I've got Rob Dean, who was Rob and Robin were the 10th people to go around Australia.
Yeah, they're on Twitter.
Yes, absolutely. And Rob's actually a retired truckie. He knows this country like the back of his hand. And really impressed with just the level of assistance that he's been able to provide me. So
Okay. So then thinking about you want to also get government support here and, address that concern, what would be your suggestion if, you could have maybe Chris Bowen's ear or anything like that?
Yeah, call it a 3-point plan. We need charges, education, and government policy. So government policy around, my background is in the solar industry, and for 11 years, we've always been saying we don't need any incentives. Just take away the rebates and all the incentives in the coal, oil and gas. If you actually add it up, few people know this, but the incentives for those 3 sectors add up to about $3,000 per year per Australian taxpayer.
Wow. So
a 2 taxpayer family, that's $6,000 a year, or over $60,000 over a 10-year period. That's almost pays for a Model 3. So, when governments talk about incentives and, maybe a $3,500 incentive for a car, average family might buy a car once every 7 years. That's $3,500 every 7 years rather than $6,000 a year. So even those incentives pale in comparison. But the best thing is just to have a level playing field, no incentives for either sector, and then renewable energy EVs will, but obviously that's probably not politically feasible. So you've then got to have exactly, So then you've got to have incentives. So, but just think about those incentives. At the moment, giving someone $3,500 towards a new car when they can't buy one anyway. Isn't as effective as putting chargers in, for example. So number one, put in chargers. We don't need them around, or we don't need them anywhere near as much around the metropolitan areas. We really need them in the country. So because people don't buy a separate car to drive in the city and a separate car for long trips, they buy a car that can do everything. So when they're considering an EV, they want to know that they can take it on longer road trips if need be.
Gotcha. How much is this charging going to cost you?
Yeah, sure. So once again, it depends. So with the road houses, quite often it's just a negotiation. And I'm yet to come across anyone who knows how much it costs them. So the most number one response is we wouldn't know. So I usually try and show them how to work it out.
Okay, yeah.
I had one person quote me 40 cents a kilo, and I said, "Oh, you mean a kilowatt hour?"
Yeah.
And they said, "No, a kilogram." And I said, 40 cents for a kilogram of electricity? That's very cheap because you could probably power the whole country with that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so usually whatever it costs, so let's say $15 at 30 cents a kilowatt hour for, for a battery that size.
Yeah.
Usually we try and tip in sort of another $20 or $30 and round it off at $40 or $50.
Right, yeah.
So make sure they have a positive experience.
Yeah.
Try and show them that there could be a business case for this. A 32 amp three-phase power point costs what, $80, $100, $120, another couple of $100 to get a Sparky to fit it in.
Yeah.
And if you can charge $30, $40 for a charge, that pays for itself pretty quickly.
Very, very fast.
So
yeah,
exactly.
All right, I'll be curious to see what your end equation works out to be.
Look, I haven't been counting the tips and everything.
Yeah.
I can tell you though, in a metropolitan setting, so I've got a Model 3 Performance 2019, one of the first ones in WA that I've had for 3 years. I've done 80,000 kilometres with it, and if I don't count tyres, because that's a very subjective thing depending on how you drive, I've spent about $180 on that car, and that includes the electricity and all the servicing.
Wow.
So absolutely incredible.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Wow. Okay, so what's been your most favourite thing so far, and what's been the worst thing?
Okay, so favourite thing by a country mile is the supercharging network. So I'm experiencing that at the moment, and I'm on an absolute high. I covered almost 1,400 kilometres yesterday.
Wow.
And it is just so doable because you drive for 3.5 hours, plug in for half an hour, takes half a second to plug it in, then you can go and have something to eat, go to the toilet, come back, you're ready to go again. Versus driving for 3 hours and maybe, charging 3 to 6 or longer.
Yeah.
So look, the number one, the most favourite thing to answer your question has been the supercharging network.
Okay.
The least favourite is the unknown factors around the human element, because you're relying on people that you don't know. And you've always, especially when there is no plan B, if you can't charge at this roadhouse, the trip is over.
Wow.
Or you've got to try and figure something out. So, always that trepidation as you're, getting close to the roadhouse, trying to work out whether you'll be able to charge or not.
Yeah, appreciate that. So you've come from Perth, WA, and that's where you're going to be going back to.
Right.
And I should just rewind there. I should have noted that in Victoria, you'll be paying the Victorian tax, for distance travel. So this trip will cost you $390. So you can add that to your sums, okay?
Right, okay.
Right.
Yes, thank you. Look, it's absolutely crazy that, I think we're the only country around the world, or at least in the developed world, I'm sure, that's even talking about taxing EVs at this stage. I'm pretty sure this statistic is right. Don't quote me on it. Feel free to fact check it. But I'm pretty sure that at this stage in WA, the state government has received more tax revenue from EVs than from the equivalent petrol cars. So, why are we trying to, we should be taxing, oil, gas. You should be taxing the things that we don't want, cigarettes, alcohol, gambling, what have you. And the things that we want to try and promote, we shouldn't be taxing. But if you're going to tax EVs, well, make it right across the board. If you're going to have a road user charge, make it the same for everyone. Exactly, or do it on a kilometre basis or what have you, but don't discriminate against EVs, especially in this embryonic stage of adoption.
Exactly, 2.5%, as you said. It's nonsensical. Last year, the Australian government gave $4.5 in direct funding to keep fuel reserves in Australia. And we spent, the federal government rather, didn't even spend that much money on roads. So, fun fact.
Putting things into perspective, so the WA state government has committed between $20 and $40 million towards different parts of the package around EVs. $20 or $40 million for a state government is a drop in the ocean.
Yeah.
It's the cost of an on-ramp onto a freeway. I was having a look, one of the councils in Perth, they spend that much just on landscaping every year.
Wow.
I mean, it's nothing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we need to put some serious money into a proper EV charging network around the country, and that will be step one. A little bit of education, a little bit of common sense government policy, and we'll never look back.
Yeah, perfect. Well, look, I really appreciate what you're doing. And you're saying that Harold's going to be arriving back in Perth tomorrow?
Yes, he's. If everything goes well, and he's on a mammoth 6-hour drive at the moment, he's been hit by a 40 kilometre an hour wind, plus he's got a bit of rain as well. So I'm holding my fingers crossed for him. But if everything goes well, he should be back tomorrow, which means he would have done the trip in 14 days. So
Wow.
He's the current record holder at 18 days in his Model X back in 2018. So he's going to blow that record out of the water. So I wish him all the best.
Yeah, definitely. And all the best to you. And look, I really appreciate you coming on. And people can find you where? Where's best to find you?
Look, Twitter, we've been posting updates at every charger several times a day on Twitter. So I've also got a YouTube channel, but it's nowhere near as good as yours. It's very much neglected. But if you search for Tesla Ahead of the Curve on YouTube, and also I'm a committee member of the Tesla Owners Club of Western Australia. Our website is tocwa.org.au.
Perfect. All right. Well, thanks very much, Pete. And thanks for coming to the show.
Thanks very much for having me, Chris. Really appreciate your interest. Cheers.